Hi there. My name is Paul Chavez, and I lead Measurement, Analytics, and Insights for the finance and travel verticals at Google Canada. I've been at Google for more than 9 years in a variety of analytical and partnership roles. I have advised some of Canada's largest companies on digital transformation and how to leverage digital marketing platforms to help them connect with their customers and drive their business objectives. I'm here to talk about measuring for success. Specifically, as we start a new year, how can you embed better measurement into your companies to better understand the progress of your business and how to highlight the metrics that truly matter for both your internal stakeholders and also for investors and board members? My talk today is going to be very practical. My goal is to give you a few very specific tools that you can start using today to set up a really successful 2022 and beyond. If I was to ask you, how's business? Or how did your recent ad campaign perform? What would you say? If you talk to different people within your company, there's a chance that you'll get a host of different metrics that may or may not tell the story. Some of these responses could be categorized as bad measurement habits. For example, measuring and reporting all metrics available, even if they are relevant. Measuring progress with shallow metrics, like views or likes or shares. Measuring at the wrong cadence. For example, to assess monthly progress of the business, sometimes the metrics available were only available quarterly. And finally, there could be a mixing of metrics, ones that measure the overall health versus the impact of a specific tactic. The result of these bad measurement habits are twofold. Teams are measured and held accountable to the wrong metrics, and also there are challenges influencing stakeholders internally and also with investors and board members. As we know, storytelling is crucial, and when you don't have a deep understanding of metrics, storytelling is hard. What are the measurement attributes of companies who truly measure for success? It's when metrics are seen as a useful toolbox. The ideal scenario is when a team knows what metrics to use when they need them. They know which metrics can use to assess the company's overall health versus individual initiatives, because they are different. They are clear on the 80-20 rule. That is, amidst the large pool of metrics that are available, which one or two can tell them the most about their business? And what else would they treat as diagnostics to understand why? And finally, teams have a totally different perspective of metrics. Instead of being intimidated and reporting on what's familiar and available, they start seeing their business through data. So that sounds great, right? Here's the practical part of my talk, which is building a solution to measure for success. At Google, we've named this solution the Impact Matrix, which was pioneered by Google Canada's own marketing team. Building an impact matrix involves 3 steps: listing all of the metrics available to you, plotting them on the impact matrix, and then selecting the ones that are most important. To start listing, we suggest organizing your metrics into 2 large buckets: metrics that assess the overall health of your business, and the metrics that can tell us the impact of your initiatives. Within those, there may be subcategories. For example, within the impact of my initiatives bucket, you want to list all of the places where you reach your customers, like marketing, customer support, etc. Once you list your categories, you want to list each of your metrics under each category. So here's a good example of how this looks like from Google Canada's own online publication, Think with Google. The publication has health metrics, which relate to its overall impact to Google's business. And then they connect with their customers via email campaigns and the website where content lives. After listing your metrics, you want to plot them on the impact matrix itself. This is a blank impact matrix that our Google Canada marketing team uses. On the x-axis, we call this time to useful. So reading left to right, you can see different time periods: real time, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and 6-month and beyond. To plot your metrics on this axis, you ask yourself the question, when will you be making decisions based on this data? It's not when data is available to you, but rather when will you be using it to make a decision? On the y-axis, you plot whether a metric is more strategic or more tactical. And you ask yourself the question, How deeply will the metric help assess my progress against an objective you may have? Our marketing team was kind enough to share their populated impact matrix for the Think with Google publication. And they placed all of the metrics they identified on here. So plotting these metrics on the matrix came from multiple rounds of discussion among the team to determine when they should be referring to these metrics and which ones are the most strategic. Now it's time to select the metrics that are most important. Selection is all about having a healthy debate where you ask yourselves questions as a group. Which metrics are the most strategic? Which will help understand progress towards my goals? Which can marketing control in their case? Which are better for another department, like sales? Which will be there when needed, and what's available versus unavailable? And you have the debate, and you select the metrics that matter the most. And that's exactly what the Think with Google team did. After some debate, they determined the metrics that truly mattered for their business. So to continue with the example, at the time, the team's objective for Think with Google was to make Think with Google a habit for all marketers. To assess their overall health, they determined that monthly active users was the best metric for them. If they sent an email, they used click-through open rate to determine the effectiveness of that tactic. For their website content, they looked at engaged unique page views. And the key is to get it down to one metric for each that they could refer to really understand what was going on. Once an impact matrix is built, the immediate application of it is to enable better decision-making and storytelling in your business. So just to recap, at this point, you've got two outputs. You've got your impact matrix, and you have a short list of metrics that we refer to immediately to understand what's going on. Here's how you can embed these two outputs into your company culture to better enable decision-making and storytelling. We start with the metrics that matter. Then at the beginning of every quarter, we plot out what good looks like, which is the green, what okay looks like, which is yellow, and if things didn't turn out the way we wanted, what does that look like? And that's red. Then at the end of every quarter, we score ourselves using the criteria we laid out. And then you get into the decision-making and storytelling element. Why that score? And how do I get to green? This is really the key to using metrics to have more strategic, informed decision-making. What is excellent? How far from excellent am I? And how do I get to excellent from where I am? Eventually, you get into very fluid, well-informed, strategic discussions that result in better decision-making and storytelling. After creating an impact matrix, identifying your key success metrics, and enabling better decision-making, it takes you to a place where metrics aren't intimidating or overwhelming anymore. And through this exercise, you learn what metrics mean, what metrics to focus on, and almost as important, what metrics to ignore. We learn when to check in on metrics. Remember, just because it's there, it doesn't mean we can make a decision on it, so we don't need it. We know who to share metrics with, whether you're talking specific campaign metrics with your marketing team, or your overall business health metrics with your board or investors. And you also figure out how to create goals. This exercise embeds decision-making within your company culture, fosters discussion, and positions your company for success. Thank you very much, and here's to a successful 2022 and beyond.